This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 261 of This is the G Podcast. Yes. Let's go on and get that up in there. There we go. Welcome to spring. Spring has sprung. Hopefully you made it through the storms last week. And you know what? I got to mention this. Welcome for those of you who are international, man, America. Welcome to our American podcast, which America is no longer the happy place. I don't know if y'all saw right. the survey, but we've hit the lowest happiness point. What? In the history of them doing this poll. And it's crazy because the countries that are on the top are the Nordic countries, like Finland, Norway. Finland is number one. Then you got, Norway, the Netherlands, all these, Nordic countries are at the top, and we're below the UK. I couldn't believe we're like down there near Poland.
Oh, really?
Russia?
No, Russia, I don't think, it's got, like 100 plus. I don't even, Russia may be at the bottom. But anyway, that's weird. That's weird to me.
Very.
But it's not surprising.
Not surprising.
We try to make it happy, but the news is what the news is, and we got to get into it. Of course, we do the weekly recap every week, news, politics, pop culture. And of course, that tea from the one and only Tanya B is in the building. Tanya B, you happy?
I'm happy to be alive. At this point, you take it one day at a time.
I woke up.
Grateful for small things.
It's kind of like, because, I record my daytime TV, so Jennifer Hudson and the Spirit Tunnel and the Happy Place, all that stuff. Have you seen that? Yeah,
I love that. I love it.
Yeah,
yes.
So she's pushing the Happy Place, Tamron Hall. A lot of folks are really trying to kind of get people, to smile and get out of the doldrums. And we do that every now and then. And of course, another reason to smile, he is back, y'all. The one and only Hitman Howie.
What's happening? Thanks for the invitation.
Appreciate you, Howie. You in academia, man? Don't tell him specifically.
Yeah, well, kind of, sort of, Yeah, I'm doing it on my weekly Saturday deal, but yeah, we're in the place.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Right.
Good to see you.
And of course, I'm Tommy B. I'm that OG Grady baby. So gotta say what's up to everybody, especially the Grady baby. Shout out to you. You still
You
hanging?
and Spike Lee. That's good company.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
I'm still hanging here. Spike went up to Brooklyn, so I'm here. Hey, man, before we get rolling, though, condolences to the world of George Foreman. We didn't, this happened after we got the news from Syracuse Mike. But I have to call it like the world of George Foreman, because there was so much to him. And we're of a certain age where, we can remember when Foreman was active, when he was fighting. And I don't know if you follow boxing, Tanya B. Howie, I'm not sure how you follow boxing. But I remember, what's that? Go ahead.
At the age of 45, he reclaimed the heavyweight championship of the world. I think he was one of the oldest, if not the oldest boxer to do that. I did my homework, to do that.
He stayed in decent shape. I mean, he was a big body dude. The other thing I remember was he had the hardest punch at one point of any heavyweight boxer. And I forgot which fight this was, Howie. He hit George, what was his name? Joe Frazier.
Yeah.
He hit Joe Frazier with an uppercut and lifted him off the canvas.
And then knocked him out.
It was like Popeye.
1973 World Championship versus Joe Frazier. That's when he claimed his first championship. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
He lifted him. And that's what I remember most, because the whole thing was in championship boxing to avoid his punch. Don't get hit by, and even Ali. If you look at the movie Ali with Will Smith, and the rumble in the jungle, going into all that, there was fear. Ali's handlers were like, "Look, dude, don't play with this guy."
That's right.
Not too sure.
What's that?
We're not too sure you should be doing this.
Right. You almost got. Which one was that? That was
That was Angelo Dundee, or was
Angelo Dundee? Yeah, you almost got it. You almost got it.
That's right. That's right.
He also revolutionized grilling, and I know you're going to talk about this probably, some of that in the tea. He had 5 sons named George.
George, right.
7 daughters, and he was a minister.
Yeah.
You know.
With the daughter's name, Georgine, Georgianne, and everybody had something to do with it, was a derivative of George. But
really? Wow. Daughters too?
I do.
But I know the sons.
I'm just guessing. I know about it. Look, if you can't find anything else to call your son, you call George. I guess he wants to make sure they all listen, so it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. He called George and everybody came.
How about
Everybody came.
So we'll get into that. And I know you'll probably mention it in the tea as well, Tanya B. But rest in power.
Yeah.
So a really good man, became a minister. And night and day, because he was so quiet, reserved, and scary to probably one of the most lovable guys on the planet.
Exactly.
But he was a hard hitter.
Oh,
and and you think I don't know if his background was such where I think so where boxing really kind of saved his life because he could have been in the streets. But to win an Olympic medal at the age of 19, and then I saw the picture of him at 19, it didn't look a whole lot different than when he got into really into adulthood. Yeah. But just imagine being 19 and having, I think he was younger than Sugar Ray Leonard and a lot of other people of note that, won the Olympics in 1968. He just turned 19.
Yeah.
His demeanor, though, I got to give it to him. Going from, again, where we talked about, like the dreaded, don't watch out for the punch kind of.
Exactly.
To, again, minister, one of the most lovable guys on the planet.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to get into some stuff. We'll go into news, but we're going to talk about Democrats polling dropping. Democrats and DA Fani Willis is ordered to pay, and then of course the powder's found at Fulton County at the end as we tape in Atlanta. The criminal deportations. Mike will get into all that. Let's go ahead and get into it. We'll get into news with Syracuse Mike, y'all, and we'll come right back. Here we go.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
A new NBC poll found only 27% of registered voters say they have a favorable view of the Democratic Party. That's the lowest NBC poll for the party since 1990. President Trump's job approval rating sits at 47%, with a slight majority disapproving. While this is his highest approval ever as president, it's also the lowest mark for a president at this point in their presidency. Fulton County DA Fani Willis has been ordered to pay over $50,000 in attorney's fees for violating Georgia's Open Records Act. A defense attorney requested the records for one of then-former President Trump's co-defendants in the election interference case. A judge ruled Willis's office was openly hostile to defense attorney Ashley Merchant. Willis has 30 days to pay those fees to the Merchant law firm and provide the requested records. $6 million is what the White House says it paid El Salvador to take in over 200 Venezuelans who were deported this weekend. They are accused of being gang members. White House spokesperson Caroline Levitt.
We're very grateful to President Bukele and to El Salvador for accepting these heinous monsters where they will face justice.
Lawyers from the Trump administration argue that a judge's oral order blocking the deportation was not enforceable. You can expect a big political legal battle over this issue. White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt is singling out the federal judge who is looking into the legality of President Trump's weekend deportation of suspected Venezuelan gang members. He used the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to justify the move. Here's the press secretary concerning Judge James Boasberg.
It's very, very clear that this is an activist judge who is trying to usurp the president's authority. Under the Alien Enemies Act, the president has this power, and that's why this deportation campaign has continued. And this judge, Judge Boasberg, is a Democrat activist.
It was actually Republican President George W. Bush who appointed Boasberg as a judge for the D.C. Superior Court, and then Democratic President Barack Obama elevated him to the federal court. It appears this latest battle will eventually end up before the Supreme Court. President Trump signed an executive order Thursday that is designed to eliminate the U.S. Department of Education. This statement from the president shortly before signing the order.
We're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs, and this is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work.
Despite calls to return school control to the states, the reality is that is already the case. Schools primarily operate under state and local control, and budgets for the current year are set. However, the long-term implications could be huge if federal education programs are changed or reduced. The Education Department will not close immediately with just Mr. Trump's signature. Getting rid of it completely would require congressional action, including support from some Democrats, which at the moment seems unlikely.
Yeah, and I got to say this. If you've noticed, Syracuse Mike has been basically fact-checking a lot of these statements in the news, and I'm glad he's doing that. And I hope that a lot of the other journalists are as well. You know, I had a good conversation with Harold Michael Harvey, and we were talking about the fact that, you know, when you look at a lot of the executive orders, a lot of these orders are going to be challenged in court, okay? Without a doubt, because in a lot of cases, they already are unconstitutional. But really and truly, and I don't want to get into it right now, we'll talk about it in the political roundtable, I think just a lot of these are intended to keep us off. It's misdirection, you know, it's sleight of hand, because the stuff that they're really doing, they want you not to notice.
Exactly.
And you know, because, you know, of course, people are losing their jobs in a lot of cases. The Department of Education was founded under Carter, which really, that's recent. This is not something, you know, that was intent or set up, you know, with our founding fathers, man. This was like 1970 something, after 76. So, you know, most of the power has been given back to the states already. So we'll see, you know, where this goes from here. The other thing is, one thing we didn't mention in Mike's news, I do want to just mention briefly, is all these DEI purges that are grabbing history. And, you know, I've been hard on Stephen A. Smith. Okay, y'all know I've been hard these last. I'm not going to stop being hard on him. I'm just going to call it what it is. But I also have to give him credit where credit is due. He did come out this week, and he came out and said that, you know, it's a pure attempt to erase history because, you know, of course, with Jackie Robinson being removed, in addition to that, you have black women pioneers who were being removed, and you got to think that this thing, it's a machine that's doing it. It's kind of like AI that's going through finding words and checking and removing, because they erased something that had to do with the Enola Gay. You know what I mean, of course, gay is in the word of the name, but y'all know what the Enola Gay is, right? It's the plane that dropped the bomb.
Right.
Has nothing to do with the community. Nothing.
No. So you can tell, you know, this is either AI. Well, it's AI or somebody really stupid doing that.
Or a combination. Stupid AI. So it
you know, it just goes to the fact that I think a lot of folks are concerned that, yeah, this guy is going through with a chainsaw. Any thoughts? I'll go to you, Howie.
Yeah, the AI issue, the Department of Interior lost about somewhere half of their people, and the conversation around was we bringing in AI to do some of the things that these people were doing. So absolutely, it's AI that's driving a lot of these cuts, which is AI is only as good as what you put in and what comes out. You know,
garbage in, garbage out.
So garbage in, garbage out. Yep. And as far as erasing history, that's been in my estimation, the game plan of a certain part of America for my lifetime, at least. They didn't want to teach or educate anyone about, and I'm not talking about educating African Americans about African Americans. I'm talking about educating Americans about African Americans and their part in this country. They tried to do that with Native Americans. They tried to do it with all the books in the library. Again, blacks in America. All these things have been consistently being done. And this is not yesterday. They started this back just pre-Reagan, and Reagan being elected into the system, and then they're trying to drive this all the way through. We've talked about this more than once, man. We have to stand up, and if we can't teach them about our history, we definitely have to teach us, meaning our kids and our next generation, about our history, and that needs to be done in our schools, and in addition to that, in our public programs, in our churches, wherever it could be. And one last thing, taking sending education back to the states. Now, remember, states, like you said, already control the majority of it, but we've done this before. Remember, this is not new to us. And to send it back to the states, back then impacted African Americans more, but now it's going to be rich and poor. The rural areas, which are majority non-African Americans, will be impacted the most because their funding is not going to be there.
Yeah.
And that's the issue with me. So before you vote for someone, you probably need to read about what they're trying to do and make sure it meets what you need in your life as well.
Before I go to Tanya B, I want to address that because when you look at the red states, we live in the Southeast, and you look at certain states who are heavily pro-Trump, they're the worst when it comes down to ranking in education.
Amen.
And in a lot of cases, the worst states are getting the most federal funding to help turn it around. So what you've done is you've taken the money that was intended to turn your state around away. And I'm here to tell you, as someone who grew up, and all of us grew up to a certain extent during the integration period in schools, majority to minority, all that went on, busing. When you are removing money intended to help your school, what's going to happen, the kids who are independently wealthy, come from middle-class families, they're going to leave.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
They are like, look, we ain't putting up with subpar schools, and we can afford to get out. So what's going to happen is that gap is going to go further. You're going to have the private schools. And if you grew up or if you live in rural America right now, you've got the public schools, let's say Okmulgee, what's whatever the city. No, I was thinking, I was trying to hit Mr. Florida on the city. You got Immokalee Public, and then you got Immokalee Academy.
Right.
And guess who's going to the academy?
The rich kids.
And the white kids. It's always it's that way in a lot of small towns.
Exactly.
It's just going to get worse. It's just going to get worse because a lot of these parents can't afford it. Okay, I'm gonna go to you, Tanya B.
One thing I want to say with what Howard was talking about, the history, they've been attempting to erase our contributions to history because it would expose how much the white folks stole from us. That's one reason why they don't want us to
Let me ask you, Tanya B. Do you think they might be doing this because of the possible liability?
Oh, well, if the statute of limitations is not up, good. Hey, really, you look at.
Hey, Tanya B. Possible reparations?
Oh, reparations. Oh, they can't spell that in the state of Georgia. But yet, but here's the thing, like you have other, it's going to erase the history of all these other ethnic groups because you have so many that have come to this country. But, just like trying to erase the contributions of Asian Americans, they got their reparations.
Yeah.
We did not. So that's one thing. And whenever it comes up, I know in this state of Georgia, it always gets like smacked to the side. Again, I think it's just, fear of exposure, and then you were speaking to like busing, and, I'm from Boston. So my sister's first job out of college was in the Boston public school system, and they put her in East Boston, which was next to South Boston, which we know all has a very racist history. You looked at what, the movies and the news clips and things that we saw, during that time. I remember I went back to my old hometown, which is Hyde Park, which is interestingly now mostly Caribbean because a lot of the racist folks have died off or just, or left and can't afford to come back. But I remember in the 60s and in the 70s being called the N-word. And I also remember having to get off the bus to run to wherever I had to go, or, I had to lay low and not get off the bus, just like my sister did with certain places. She was a badminton coach, and there were certain places where they would go where they would have to scrunch down on the floor in the bus. Mind you, my sister's 6 feet tall. Because of all that happening. And, even back then, it's like, okay, well, and there was a woman I remember very clearly saying, I'd rather live next door to somebody colored, than to go to school with them. And even back then, what some of the lower class Caucasian people did was take their kids out of Boston public schools. They didn't want them to get bussed out of the neighborhood, and they started their own private schools. Well, they all didn't last, but they started them. Namely, I'm from Hyde Park. They had the Rogers and Hyde Park High were the junior high and public high schools, and then they had Hyde Park Academy.
Yes, right. Yeah, and right. It is the ongoing model for a lot of small cities, or for a lot of cities where you had the private schools and the public schools.
And then you also have this whole thing about like dismantling.
Everybody's allowed school choice.
Right.
I get that.
But to dismantle the DEA, what people are not really recognizing. I know a lot of these people now have this regret, and I'm like, oh well, too late. You broke it. You bought it. It's going to have a massive effect on children with special needs.
Yeah,
a lot of people have special needs.
I do believe, Tanya B., I agree with you 100%, and I do believe it's going to have significant impact in the Southeast.
Yeah, but then you've got families that have more than one special needs kid. They can't afford to send those kids to private school. They have to go to public school, and then everybody. It's a lose-lose situation. No one's going to win here except the people that are dismantling it, and we know who they are. No need to say names, just to put more money in their pockets.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I do have to say, and as we wrap up the news, kudos to Sunny Hostin on The View. She was really one of the only ones who called Chuck Schumer out in his appearance on The View. She said he caved, when it came down to the government shutdown. Sarah Hayes tends to be kind of middle ground, supportive. She'll lean probably more so to the right.
You don't want to upset the apple cart.
Yeah, Alyssa used to work for Trump, so she'll go against him on most things that she sees people will go against Trump for, the ridiculous stuff. But in a lot of cases, things like this, she'll try to support what she did. She'll try to normalize it or see the silver lining in it. Joy, I don't know if Joy truly understands it. Joy, I don't even know if Joy.
You think that Joy care is the question?
Joy's just there to throw insults, and then Whoopi's just kind of trying to keep the peace. But I do want to give it up to Sunny, because she truly called him out, and he needed it because he's not getting it. Go ahead.
I think even more important than her words was her body language. She was chomping at him and pointing and demonstrative moves that said, "Hey, you caved, and we need to have some." Understanding as to why you do it. So if you didn't hear, if you only heard it and didn't see it, you should go back and watch it because she was on him about that.
Wait, was her neck moving?
Well, not quite that much.
She was leaned in.
Okay.
She kind of like, how you sitting with a friend and y'all maybe go to lunch and that friend kind of puts the elbow on the table and leans in. She's kind of leaning in to him. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing, I do believe, you can easily accept his excuse. Okay, you can easily accept that, it was the choice between two evils. He took the lesser of both evils. But you have to look at the fact that most Democrats, and they were talking about this earlier in the week, were talking about a 30-day extension so that there could be more negotiating of what was in the bill. Okay, and why not extend it for 30 days? So you can have more time to try. That was my thing. Why, instead of just giving up, knowing that there's so much in there that you're not going to fix everything, give it 30 more days. So maybe with this thing being exposed, the people can come to your rescue as well. And that's where I think, a lot of people feel he failed because it became public more as it got closer to the shutdown, because you know how we are. We're not paying attention till it's like, 10 days till the shutdown.
Exactly.
Oh my God. 10 minutes.
Right.
Because more people were paying attention. People weren't paying attention a few months ago.
Right.
I kind of felt a 30-day extension would have at least balanced it more. Mm-hmm. So why not just fight for the extension?
Yeah.
He just said, what the hell with it? I'm gonna cave.
Yeah, fight for the extension and participation. Democrats had no participation in the bill at all.
Absolutely. That's my point. Exactly. Good point. Definitely good point, Howie. I just, at this point, man, I just believe they have to be held accountable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And for the folks who are remaining quiet, I gotta shout out not remaining quiet. For the folks who are remaining quiet and not doing anything, they have to be held accountable. But I do have to give kudos to Bernie and AOC and the tour that they're currently on. I think, that's what needs to be done. You gotta, they're going looks like Midwestern, Southwestern, they're kind of in the middle of the country, the heartland.
A lot of red states, a lot of red states,
a lot of Republican-based states they're going into and trying to educate people on how these cuts and changes will hurt them. So I'm glad to see that, at least. All right.
You know what else I'm glad to see? I'm glad to see all these people that are coming out to these Republican town hall meetings and giving those politicians the business, and rightfully so, they should.
As they should.
But again, it's too late. You voted for him. You broke it. You bought it. No backsies.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So true. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's do it.
Now then, children, it's time for tea.
It's tea time, y'all. Sipping the tea with Tanya B.
We've done the political tea. Let's go ahead and do that real tea.
We have so much. And we did talk about George Foreman. So one thing that's interesting is, he really took something that people laughed at him when he started hawking, the George Foreman grill on late night TV. And now that's really a global phenomenon. There are like 6 different types of George Foreman grills, up to and including one where you can barbecue outside or inside.
He revolutionized. Don't you think he revolutionized the grill?
Oh,
really?
He did.
I think so.
He brought it inside, and now I'm a little upset. I gave away 2 that I had.
Go get your grill, girl. It's worth some money.
Well, one of them died. I know. The other one, I know. And it did make it somewhat easier to cook, but then other people started copying him and jumped on the bandwagon and made different versions of it. But you can say the grill by whoever, but when you say
a Ninja grill,
but see, when you say Ninja, you think of a lot of different things. You think of the blender, But when you say George Foreman, all you think of is boxing and the grill.
And the grill.
Exactly right.
And more people, probably more generations, the newer generations may only know the grill.
Grill, right. They know nothing of it. They don't even know about him being a minister. So, if nothing else, he's leaving a global stamp on a worldwide brand. Can't hate him for that. And I hope he had things in order so his children can, reap the benefits and keep the brand going.
Yeah, I think he was correct me if I'm wrong, Howie, because you follow sports. I thought he was hooked up. I think his net worth was he was always doing something.
Yeah, he was in good shape. That's exactly right.
He did things because he wanted to, not because he had to.
Yeah, right. Agreed.
Well, let's just agree. Okay, I also want to say condolences to Jeffrey Osborne. To be married to anybody 46 years in any line of work is a big deal, but to be an entertainer and be married to the same person for 46 years is like a lifetime. And he just recently lost his wife, Sherry, and she always traveled with him. And the way that he's working through his grief is to not miss a show, and he's still out there performing. Everyone grieves differently. But, if you went to see him anywhere, or like anybody who was behind the scenes, any promoter, you knew Sherry Osborne. And, it's like that was a real love story, almost kind of like an Ashford and Simpson thing.
Yeah. But Jeffrey is probably one of the easiest entertainers to work with. Had an opportunity to work with him when I was working in Dallas. And I sent something to him that needed to be produced for a show. He was coming into town to do a show. And I said, hey man, get this to your people, so they can hook it up for you, because I reached out to his manager. Say, I just sent it to Jeffrey. Send it to him. Little did I know he did it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't even send it to a producer. He had a studio in his house. He went to the studio and he hooked it up himself and said, he sent it directly back to me and said, hey man, let me know if you need any changes. I'm like, damn,
I know. Anybody else, they make you jump through hoops for that. But
I was captivated to back in the day to LTD. And you know what? Let me ask you, Tanya. It's like, damn, how old was he? 12 when he was singing with LTD?
He's one of 12 kids. He and his brother Billy, who played keyboards, started out very young. He was originally the drummer in LTD. But, and just to think of somebody, when you look at, I say even people like Clarence Burke Jr. Of the Five Stair Steps, to write songs like Come Back, You Waited Too Long, and to write those songs that Jeffrey and Billy Osborne were writing in the 70s to be the ages that they were, it's like, who does that?
That's what I'm saying.
But they
you
truly
listen
had
to
a hit.
what love, what was the song? Love Story? What was
Love
the song?
Ballad and
Love Ballad.
you know
You
what I like?
listen to those songs and you're like, damn, what was this dude?
Share
This
My
dude
Love, Concentrate on
yes.
You. Remember that my dad, one of his favorite songs was an album cut called The Stranger. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh, The Stranger was massive.
Yeah, that was the LTD version of Reasons was Stranger.
Oh man, Stranger was the jam.
Yes, it
But
was.
you know, my whole point is that dude was young, writing those songs and singing those songs. He was like a kid.
And wanted to do more.
Sound like a grown man like Teddy.
Who didn't write any of his songs.
I know. But still, Teddy was young.
Yeah, exactly. And like Jeffrey Osborne, Teddy was a drummer too.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. I'm just, whenever I think about Jeffrey Osborne, I think about LTD, and I say, damn, this dude had to be young because he's still doing it.
They were. If you go back and look at, there's a reel on YouTube of them doing Hold On. I remember Don Kirsten's rock concert, but it was live.
Yeah, oh hell yeah.
And it was like 10 of them. And it's like even the horn players, the keyboard players, guitar players, they were stepping and did not miss a beat. Jeffrey was dancing and singing and did not lose his breath. Yeah. Okay, that's something these young people need to learn because that's something they don't know.
I was talking to Thomas from Slave, and I forgot because he was 18, 19 when Slave was
when they blew up, a lot of those guys were really young.
Real kids. Yeah.
You know,
I'm sorry.
Not that they weren't creative, but I wonder if they'd had a little bit more of a higher level of maturity. And, it just is because when you're 18, 19, and you're 20, 21, and you had that kind of success and fame, you are smelling yourself to a point. Or, some of them like Jeffrey, part of the reason why he said he left LTD was because even the label wanted him to work with other artists and he was writing other songs. They were like, you can't do that. And finally, he and Billy were like, okay, you know what? We got to go. Big mistake because LTD was never the same after that.
Never. And Jeffrey, man, what a solo career. What a career with LTD.
Yeah. He came out the beat.
Phenomenal. Underrated.
Out the gate, just
underrated.
Not swinging. He came out swinging. And the thing about it is he still works.
Woo song.
And he still works. He looks great. He's 74 years old. And he sounds just like he did when he was 24 years old.
And the dude's only 74. It just seems like decades. You know what I'm saying?
I know, but if you look at him, he's been in better shape than a lot of people. He has taken care of his instrument because that's how he makes his living.
Yeah, so true.
No, okay.
Listen to that, JoJo. KC JoJo, listen.
If anybody's looking for a date after 3.5 years of marriage, the award-winning Quinta Brunson, who we know from Abbott Elementary fame, she's divorcing her husband, and his name is Kevin. But it's like some people didn't even know she was married because he was with her at the Emmys, but you thought he was just somebody from the crew or the production team sitting beside her.
Yeah, because he was a white dude.
Yeah, she kept that part of her life extremely private, and like you said, she left Philly. Like Will Smith, West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Yeah.
Went to Hollywood, so he'll have a cheesecake factory. Maybe he'll have I don't know, a Pinkberry yoga shop, whatever.
You think he's gonna get half?
I wonder if she. Now if they had a prenup.
You think they're gonna do like Mary J? I hope it doesn't turn into the Mary J story.
No, because you think about it, when she married him, she was just on the cusp of blowing up because Abbott's been around for 4 seasons. And the thing that she did before didn't bring her that much money. So I just hope that she's protected. Not that, because I don't even know what he did, but besides like carry her purse. They never said, really, what did he do? I don't know. Maybe he has his own thing. I don't know. But they don't have any children, so that's not going to be an issue.
Gotcha.
But, let's talk about Jonathan Majors. He married Megan Good, so now she's Megan Good Majors in a very quick and quiet ceremony earlier this week. And then he's got this movie coming out about the bodybuilders on steroids. Magazine Dreams is called. It comes out, I think, April 23rd. Or in the midst of promoting the movie, he drops that bombshell about being abused sexually by men and women. And that is, I guess he's saying that's why he is the way he is. It's nothing to take lightly, but what took him so long to bring this out? Why didn't it come out when the girlfriend said he bit my ear and punched me in the face and all of that stuff? So I don't know.
Well, maybe I'll be quite honest. Maybe he felt like by doing that, people would have dismissed his claims as just trying to get out of
All right, but now we can dismiss his claim saying, okay, he's just trying to stay in the news cycle because this movie is coming out because it's been on the shelf for so long. They're hoping it does well. Because this movie was done, before he allegedly, had all of his personal legal problems.
I hope it works out, Tanya B. I know you're a massive skeptic on their
really?
their nuptials.
For the most part.
And I say massive.
Everybody, for the most part, I'll say it again, for the most part, everybody does deserve a second chance because we've given some people 10 chances. So maybe
what does she have to gain? What does Megan Good have to gain by connecting with him?
No, I think it's a come up for him because, Harlem is over, but she seems to be, you know what? We'll find out on March 28th when we watch, what's that? First from the Call List on Apple TV.
Okay.
That's a 2-part series about Black actors in Hollywood. Part 1 is the women, part 2 is the men. But it's got some heavy hitters for producers. You got Whoopi, Kevin Hart, Halle Berry, Jamie Foxx, Angela Bassett. So it should be interesting. And it's a story of, how people get jobs, in movies and TV and things like that. They have this thing called the call sheet.
Okay.
Let's talk about Tracy Morgan. He went viral earlier this week when he threw up on the floor at the Knicks game, and people were wondering, is he sick? Is he drunk? Well, he's claiming it was food poisoning. And I'm like, that food at Madison Square Garden, if he ate it there, is really expensive. So I wonder if he's going to sue them. But fellow comic Michael Blackson was funny. He said, ain't nothing wrong with Tracy Morgan. He was just drunk and he threw up. So, who knows?
Well, he got sugar.
He got the sugar.
So, he can't be eating everything. I had to go there. But, he can't be eating everything.
That's funny.
Alcohol is full of the sugar. So,
Yes, it was.
Well, I better keep laughing,
bro.
Oh, Jesus, help me. Help me, Holy Ghost. Vivica Fox, please sit down, Auntie. You did not need to get a BBL. 50 Cent is trolling her like crazy. You need to stop with the plastic surgery. Viv, please stop it.
No, she did. Well, but here's the deal. She's allowed to. She can. She's still in the game.
Look at Lil Kim.
Unfortunately, she got a connection to 50 Cent. So he gonna clown.
No, he turned her out. She said he was the best she ever had.
Oh my God.
Okay. I don't know how much she had. I don't know. But she's giving people a reason to troll her. I'm like, come on. What was wrong with what she had?
He's gonna troll.
He already is. But I'm saying, but Viv, if you got talent, we look at you from the front, which you need to stop messing with that too. Your backside, I don't know who cares about that. But, come on.
Is she in anything other than those car insurance commercials? I haven't seen her.
She has a production company. She has a deal with Lifetime. She does a lot of Lifetime movies.
Oh, okay.
And why do you need a BBL in a Lifetime movie? It's like Patti LaBelle getting a BBL. Come on now.
All right.
Anyway, the second week,
bad visual. That's a bad visual.
I'll leave it at
that. Yes. Okay, we gotta move on.
Yeah. Come on, Tanya.
Okay. Stop, Howie. I'll say, forget about the rumors about Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour. Having a problem selling tickets. They have added more dates to that tour. She's going to do a little mini residency in Vegas. So, but bigger than that is what flew over the cuckoo's nest, and I'm talking about Kanye West, because I have to. Now, his attack on Jay-Z and Beyonce's children, commenting about their mental capacity and the means of their birth. And for some reason, he thinks Jay-Z and Beyonce should help him with his kids. I don't think so. But you know what? He can't help himself, because you cannot tell me his kids are not touched by his mental illness. I'm sure Kim didn't think about that. But, he's talking about how Beyonce had the twins. I'm like, your kids came through a surrogate. Kim only had 2 and she couldn't have any more. And there was a time when, remember, go back to the MTV Awards when Beyonce had Love on Top out, 2005, whatever, and she announced her pregnancy. You remember the announcement and how Kanye and Jay-Z were right there, yoing it up and whatnot, and that they made the album together, and now that's not the case anymore. I thought they went on tour, but anyway, let me tell you something. Now that Matthew Knowles and Tina Knowles have spoken out about him, Matthew knows that he's going to get his karma and comeuppance. And Mama Tina said something like, what happens when a snowman gets overheated, he has a meltdown. That's who she was talking about, him. But the thing is, they from Alabama and Louisiana, and he will get a bayou beat down. And I would bank on Tina Knowles whooping his ass more than I would with Matthew, because Tina don't play. But you threatening somebody's children, threatening their grandchildren. And, just as he seeps deeper into the abyss of insanity, you can't tell me that Kim regrets marrying him, not regret the kids, but regrets marrying him. But she's really having to work overtime like she never thought she would to keep those kids safe. And she's trying to get permanent custody. I heard she's got her attorney on speed dial. Now, the Tate brothers.
Because wasn't he with them when North was there?
Yes, but here's the thing. They are, I guess, only friends he has, but they're also allegedly sex abusers, sex traffickers, pedophiles, and pimps. They're under investigation, not only in this country, but over in the UK and other countries. And here come Kanye talking about the Kardashians as sex traffickers. No, you hanging out with them. Because even though Puffy's pissed at him, he put that record out, and he put Puffy's jailhouse recording on the record, unbeknownst to Puffy. So, Puffy can't do nothing to him now. But, and Kim says she's worried about Northwest, and she should be. I said a few weeks ago, she's 2 steps from the whole stroll in the poll. And I still also say that Kanye's mother was putting something in his food, because he has gone completely off the rails since she died, and he has no relationship apparently with his father, because Papa Will thinks ain't anything. But let's get back to the Tate brothers. Now, if this were the case, tell me if you'd want your kids anywhere near them. I told you sex crimes, they're charged with sexual assault. Like most criminals, they maintain their innocence, but I'm looking at where they come from. Social media, but they also spread hate speech and sexism. And they've got 10 million followers, but here's the gag. Now, again, would you want your kids around them? I don't think so. Do you know these guys have something called Hustlers University, where people pay and they tell them how to run scams, and they were making $8 million a month just off of that. Then they have another business entity that tells people how to sexually, to abuse and sexually exploit women.
Well, let me mention this real quick while you're there, and you can continue and wrap it. There's a new show, series that just debuted this week on Netflix. It's called Adolescents. And it's about a 13-year-old, I guess this would be middle school, in the UK, who actually commits a murder. And they say it's not a whodunit, it's about why he did it. And in a lot of, not in a lot of cases, this specifically deals with that whole, I won't say industry, but that whole philosophy. These kids are being pulled into this world that's really created by the Tate brothers. They even mention their names, or mention the name Tate brothers and it's not a documentary. It's a drama series. It's only 4 episodes. It's a quick watch. I recommend, if you're a parent, or even, if you have nephews in that age range who are in school, or nieces, you should watch this, because it's eye-opening in terms of the whole culture that these guys promote. You understand what I'm saying? And it's the same, this toxic, masculine, misogynist culture. It goes both ways, because they talk about the fact that, some of the women are aware of it and they provoke it. I'm, not putting any victim shaming out there, but these guys, that kind of class, what was the one you mentioned about how, basically it's like, it's almost going back to Eddie Murphy.
But it's like being a yeah, right.
Yeah. So basically this whole culture is being given to 14-year-old, 13-year-old boys. They're listening to it in podcasts. They have 100 or so emojis that are specific to the culture. So you even have to pay attention to the emojis that are being used around, in the teen culture, preteen, teen culture. It's really an eye-opening watch. It's funny. Well, not funny. There's nothing really funny about it. It's just interesting because the detective who's involved in it from the beginning is clueless. until his son pulls him aside and says, "Dad, you're looking ignorant." Because he's at the same school. He pulls him aside. The son has to educate his dad on the culture.
Wow. And you know what I say to this whole thing? You hate to, like Matthew Knowles said, Kanye will get his karma. Well, I'm like, no tea, no shade, Kim. You participated in this mess too because you thought you were getting something with Kanye. You got the booby prize, but that's because you were stealing other people's husbands, sleeping with other people's husbands before you married Kanye. So just remember that. And that woman that Kim stole Kanye from is probably somewhere laughing, saying, and phew, thank God.
Thank you.
He became her problem, not mine.
Well, it's like my whole thing, and you look at, I don't really follow the Kardashians. I'm not into that world.
Me
I know
either.
a lot of people are. There are a lot of people who are.
Yeah.
But you look at the trail of the Lamar Odoms, Kanye's
athletes.
You go down the list, and you say, what shape are these guys in current day?
Right.
And it's almost like, people laugh about the Kardashian curse, but look at the trail. They all
wake up destruction.
Messed up. Mm-hmm. You hate to see. I hope North and the kids get out of this. Okay, but I don't think they're going to get out of it unscathed.
No, and she already said this, messing with them, and they like North, I guess, is closest to her father. She wants to go see him, but Kim is like, I understand that, but it's also a toxic environment for my daughter. So those kids are going to. I hope she has them in counseling because they're going to need it well into their adult life. That's what.
Well, I'm here to tell you. Check it out on Netflix. It's called Adolescents. I didn't know what to expect. I saw the trailer, and the trailer looks really good.
Now, did your kids tell you about it, or you just stumbled upon it?
No, I know more. Okay.
Oh,
no, I just saw it. It was the trailer was on YouTube, and the trailer. I got to do a podcast, y'all. I got to come on here at least know and understand what pop culture is.
In that other world, right? In that other world,
I gotta go. I gotta know what the new movies are. And I saw the trailer and I said, man. And plus they do this new. Well, it's not new. If you've seen, I think Why Did I Get Married 2? There's a camera technique that's like one camera that follows, and it's intense because you got one camera that kind of jumps from character to character. It follows versus where you have multiple camera angles. Mm-hmm. That's what also makes it even more intense because it's got that special camera angle. But I'll leave it at that. Love your thoughts, though, on this, y'all.
And one more thing.
Love your thoughts. Go ahead. I know you got social media.
To further confirm Kanye's abyss, falling into the abyss of insanity, he's got that Sunday service choir. And now if you're a man and you want to be in the choir, you must shave your head. And he has named the choir the N-word. Capital N ... S. I'm like, really, do we... And we're not even going to get into the anti-Semitism part of him because this is just a 1 hour show, but that's another time, another conversation.
On the album cover of the new one.
Everything.
Yeah.
Anyway. And wait, did you see Puffy?
What's it called? Bully? Is that the name of the album?
I'll just call it Who Cares? I don't know.
I think it's Bully. Okay, go ahead. You got one more. I got some stuff because I know you got to get out of here.
Okay, no, I'll be real quick. Did you see Puffy? It's really something when you have to go to court on Saturday. But now people are calling him Santa Combs because now the hair dye is gone, and you see he's completely gray in the beard and in the hair. The trial's delayed another week or two. New lawsuits have been filed. I don't know how he thinks he's going to walk out of jail when he's got 10,000 charges filed against him.
Yeah,
you better call Jesus to defend him because all the attorneys he's had since, from day one have not helped him or they just quit the case.
So when's it starting? May?
Huh?
May? Starting in May?
Yeah, May-ish, end of May-ish. It may go into June, but he's been in jail, since September? So it'll be going on a good 9 months. Seems like longer. Okay, now, for those of you who listen to the radio, and I'm not one of these people, and those of you who listen to the Breakfast Club, it's Charlamagne the God, DJ Envy, Angela Yee left the show, and I understand why. But they had the new host, Jess Hilarious. Now, Jess came on the show, got pregnant, took maternity leave, and she's come back, and now there's all this brouhaha about this woman. I think she was the producer. Her name is Lauren LaRosa. Stepped in to replace Jess while she was on medical leave. Now there was speculation and just stuff is flying everywhere. No, Jess Hilarious was not fired. And then, Lawrence being accused of being a poacher, trying to take Jess's place on the show. Now, and one thing they talked about was she has a segment called Jess with the Mess. And even while she may have trademarked it and copywritten it and everything, people can, a lot of places, I know this, Tommy D, when you go to work at a radio station, a lot of what you bring in the door can become their property. Just like when Wendy Williams was out sick, they still did Hot Topics and called them Hot Topics, even though she had trademarked the name. So that whole thing about why are you using Jess with the Mess? I'm like, grow up. But the thing is, this happens a lot every day in radio that we know. Yeah, people will go out on medical leave. People can be sick. They can go on vacation and come back and things will be different. Somebody could be sitting at your desk. And, I will give Jess 5 on it for having the talent to put Lauren LaRosa on. But, this is, at the end of the day, it's the Charlemagne show. It's not even about Envy or her. It's the Charlemagne show. At the end of the day, what Charlemagne the God says, will go. And this may be just a way to, supposedly, and I saw some of it, Jess went to Instagram and just other social media platforms to express her feelings about it. But it seems like she's getting a little caught up in letting people's opinions on social media dictate really how she feels. Because at the end of the day, when you go behind closed doors, and this is a business, and it's not about anybody, because everybody is replaceable, and nobody's, we're all expendable. They may not want to fire her because they have to pay her a whole lot of money, and she's got 2 different ways to sue them. They don't want to do that. And this shows one of the few cash cows that iHeartRadio has. So I think they're hoping that the news cycle will just, replace them with something else. And who knows, they may take Jess and give her another job. But I don't see Jess Hilarious going, right away. But it just seemed like, it was a headline this week. And I know they're syndicated and they're on TV and they're on radio. But, people have so many options as to how they consume, radio, talk, any of that. I don't know what their numbers are. I know they're not good in Atlanta.
Well, let me say this. In most markets, where they're dominant, there are no local shows. Yeah. They do okay. They do well. But when it comes down to in cities where there's a local option, in city, where they really can't relate to the New York culture, like in Atlanta, they don't do that well.
Right.
Let me say this real quick because I know you got a roll. So
I got one more thing to tell you. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
I'm going to
pushing it. But my whole point is this, and I wanted to say this. The thing that I see here is like a big red flag is someone coming off maternity leave. That's the one big red flag for me. The other thing is they don't allow this to happen with their mainstream morning shows. This would have never happened on a quote unquote mainstream morning
Bobby
show.
Bones.
It just happened. Absolutely not.
Duran,
absolutely not.
Ryan Seacrest.
It speaks to, what they care about, Mm-hmm. What they really care about, they focus on keeping clean, but they allow this. Well, they also care about, that, of course, and some other things as well. But you're right. Yeah. When it comes down to the mainstream, they're going to spend more time trying to protect that. They're not going to, and it speaks to leadership. I'm going to leave it at that. Bottom line for me is the 2 big issues are going to be the maternity leave. She's going to sue the hell out of them if they let her go. And then the second thing is I hate to see it happen urban because it shouldn't be happening. Somebody on a higher level should have stepped in and not allowed this to happen. But, again, you protect what you care about. I'm going to leave it at that. What you got next? Let's move.
Okay, one more thing I want to talk about. People will say, concerts, and they are expensive. If you, I just saw, and a lot of people who come from the world of entertainment and different genres and things like that, they're all going back to Broadway. George Clooney, Denzel, Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child is on Broadway. But the ticket prices, some people just go ahead and pay them. Personally, I like George Clooney, but I'm not paying $937 to sit in the orchestra to see him in a play. I just don't do that. Some people will. But one ticket, I guarantee you that it's going to probably be one of the tickets of the year, for this culture is the Four Queens tour. Where can you go in one night on one stage and see first names only, Patty, Shaka, Gladys, and Stephanie?
Yeah. How much is that ticket, by the way?
It doesn't matter. But I tell you what does matter. You notice Dionne Warwick is not on the scene in this one. And at one point, Patty, and Gladys had their own HBO special, and they were like true blue and tight like glue. So no Auntie Dionne in the picture. But you know, truth be told, if you look at these 4 personalities, you look at Dionne Warwick, and she says a little prayer for you like this, she might put the people asleep. No tea, no shade. But I think that is going to be the ticket. The show is a short tour. It's only May and June. So if you can, I suggest you help yourself. And we're not getting any money to talk anything about this tour, but I think it was worth mentioning. And these are ladies who need to get their flowers.
I hear you. I am not paying $150 to go see 702, though. I'm gonna leave it at that. All right.
What them girls at?
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Oh wait.
Nah. Here we go. Because I know you got the house tour. You told me. Hey, real quick, because I know you got to roll.
We're good.
What you got? Go ahead. You got to roll. Damn.
Good. You know, I can go on.
I know. That's why.
On the other thing,
real quick, this was big news, though. I want to say this so we can move, because I do want to wrap up with Howie on a few things. Beyond the Gates, y'all. I've been watching that, and I watch it later on Paramount. Sometimes I may be able to catch it by day, but for the most part, I watch it the episodes on Paramount. But it's kind of surprising and shocking and concerning that the character Ted Richardson is not leaving the show, but the actor who plays him, Maurice Johnson, is leaving the show this soon.
Already?
They're already recasting. And you knew Keith D. Robinson. He's from Tyler Perry. Am I correct?
No,
Tyler Perry Universe?
Cadillac Records with Eddie Murphy and Beyonce.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He was on Saints and Sinners with Vanessa Bell Calloway. He does a lot.
He's been in a couple of Tyler Perry movies.
Yeah, he's been around. If you don't know the name, you know the face. And he really is a really great singer. Got a lot of great music out.
Yeah, Keith D. Robinson is replacing Maurice Johnson, who plays Ted Richardson. And if you're not familiar with Ted Richardson, he's married to Dr. Nicole Dupree. She's one of the daughters, of course, of the matriarch and patriarch with Clifton Davis and Tamara Tooney. But Ted's a successful plastic surgeon. I won't give any spoilers, but there's a big reveal, huge reveal that's coming up. And that's why, it's shocking to me, because it's one of the major storylines right now. And to replace the central character in this storyline, really, I hope they get through the storyline a month in. It's been doing well in the ratings. It has it's been sustaining, but this is one of those points where, you don't want it to jump the shark too early at the wrong, and that's, definitely, it's not even close to jumping the shark. But something like this, if the guy doesn't come in and really take over and make people forget, it's big.
Yeah. But you know what, though? They might have gotten Keith D. Robinson because he does have, a track record. When you mentioned Maurice,
Maurice Johnson. Yeah, I mean, nobody really knows him. But,
that's the thing.
Nobody face-wise, but it's, you're already into it. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
I'm
gonna have to trust the process.
Yes, let's find out why he's leaving. So
I'm gonna have to trust the process. Hi, Tanya B. Hey, I know you got a role. You got stuff going on. So let's go ahead. We're gonna take a break.
Yeah, I'm going on HGTV House Hunters. Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
You ain't for real, man. Come on.
Okay.
But I know you are house hunting.
Washington.
Are you OTP? Are you looking OTP? Outside the perimeter? Are you looking at OTP?
No. That was giving me road rage. No. In Atlanta, I've become a city girl. Sorry.
I know that's right.
All right, y'all. Let's take a break. We'll come back and wrap it, do the political, and then we'll wrap. Thank you, Tanya B. I appreciate it. Hey, help me help you. Move.
I will. I got to call the popo, but you're friend. But it's been great. Everybody have a great week, and I will see you next week with more tea. And listen to the Bird Wire. Scan the QR code. 50 cents a week. 25 for 25.
All right, we'll come right back. Thank you, Tanya. All right.
Roundtable.
Now, she was the one who came to me and said, hey, I got a thing going on, and okay. Yeah,
she held you on, huh?
She's the one hanging on. Hey, so real quick, Howie, I wanted you to just give me some insight, man, on the flurry of things that you see going on in Washington right now. I talked to Harold Michael Harvey, and I couldn't get him on this week. He's on the road, but one of the things he said to me was he feels that a lot of what we're seeing, a lot of these executive orders are intended to take the focus off right now what's really going on, and a lot of it has to do with money.
Right.
They're basically just attempting to steal. And they don't want to, and basically, these other things they know will, the opportunities to close the, Department of Education. A lot of these things that are being done basically will impact, don't have significant impact, but the things that they're doing behind the scenes, like cutting Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, people would be up in arms. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I don't have any facts, so this is 100% my opinion. But I think it's important for us as Americans to read between the lines. And to your point earlier, sleight of hand or the puppet master type thinking is something else is going on behind the scenes, and we don't see it yet. Somebody may see it, but whoever sees it needs to bring it out. But more important than anything, we need to read between the lines, because there is a lot of things that's going on that is being publicized and out front, things that we can see and hold on to and get upset about. But we don't see the workings behind. Is that whole duck theory, where everything is, looking cool on top, under the bottom, he's peddling like hell, or stealing all of our funds and rerouting funds and moving funds offshore. I wouldn't doubt that. And I wish and I hope it's probably going to be a few years down the road after this presidency that we see someone write a book about it, a la the Nixon deal. People are going to start writing books about it, Deep Throat and that type of thing, saying, hey, this is what was happening, why we were taking pictures of our president signing all of these executive orders. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, I look at the fact that there are so many conflicts of interest. When you've got somebody who is in the Pentagon who's got, defense contracts, right? Who's negotiating with, or sitting down talking about cuts when you possess contracts, with the Pentagon. So it just doesn't it doesn't smell right. It doesn't pass the smell test. Yeah. Yeah. And the whole thing with Social Security too is that the funds that are in Social Security, they've been trying to get those. They being Wall Street and those type of guys, or the grifters have been trying to get access to those funds forever, pre-Clinton era. And so I think that's one way to get a hold of a lot of money at one time. And you're exactly right. We have to be very, very careful at what we're seeing right now. Yeah, so true. So true. All right, man. Appreciate it. Yes. So, let's go ahead and let's do this.
It's time to wrap it up. This is the G Podcast.
Yeah, we'd love your thoughts. You can hit us up, man. Hit the scan the QR code. Logo it's on the logo. It's in social media. All of our links are there. Also, you can hit the people poll and leave us a voice message. We'll definitely play back the best of those, man. I promise to play back the best. I will definitely play back the best. Don't forget, support the podcast. 25 for 2025 is happening now. Make a one-time pledge for the year. Use the QR code. You can do that. I think we'll do that up until June. Also, y'all, make sure you follow Spotify. That's our main source. Right now, we're on Spotify at This Is The G Podcast. Just go to at This Is The G Podcast on Spotify. Follow us, subscribe. Make sure you do that. You got any shout-outs, Howie? Oh, no, man, I'm good. My one quick thing is my son up in the Boston area bought a canoe last week. Yes. He's out on the water fishing like he enjoys it. So shout out to him. And my daughter's in D.C., so shout out to the DMV. I always love that area. Great food, great museums, great place to hang out. So this summer's coming, guys. Cherry Blossom Festival up that way. You take advantage of it. Excellent, man. Appreciate you, man, coming in last minute. Shout out Talib Shabazz will be back next week. our good buddy Vi's at a wedding this weekend. So have fun, Vi. Hope you have fun.
People still get married? Really? People still get
man. Yeah, despite what they say.
Despite what they say.
Despite the happiness. Despite happiness being at the all-time low, they still hooking up. Still doing it. Yeah. I appreciate you again. Go ahead, Howie.
I said people are concerned. You talk about happiness. People are really concerned. Even if you have a good job, you're just concerned, general principle, about the way our country's going and the way the world is moving. So I can understand that.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Absolutely. I mean, it's even more interesting that if you have people who live outside the U.S. who you talk to, they're asking, "How are y'all doing? How are you doing?"
Exactly.
Because they look at everybody can see the turmoil.
Yes.
So they're saying if you have friends who you talk to or speak with who live outside the U.S., they'll say, "Hey, how's the U.S.? How you hanging and all that mess?"
Exactly.
That's the first thing they'll say. So
yeah, that's true.
All right, y'all. Appreciate you, Howie. And with that, y'all,
you.
episode 261 is in the can. Gotta say peace and power to the people. Y'all have a great week.
Thank you.
You've been listening to This is the G Podcast. This is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.